We're Nigerians, and there is always this thing that parents will tell you, even people around, that if you have just one source of income, you don't know what you're doing with your life. When I first got here, the first 2 months, I was still trying to understand what was going on, and then so that someone won't go hungry, I started applying for any kind of job. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I was trying to do. One of my favorite quotes these days is minimizing stupidity will take you far in life, which means you need to learn to be able to cut down impulsive decisions, impulsive actions. Think about things, think things through, right? Before you make a decision. Because if you don't think it through, you're going to like mess things up. You're going to get very messy. So like taking time to reflect on things and sort of consider different sides to something makes it easy. Sometimes it might not be the easiest decision, but oftentimes it's the smartest decision. So that's how being an introvert, showing up has really helped, because now I'm not showing up to just show up for showing up's sake. No, I'm showing up because of
Hello guys, welcome back to the amazing show, Tech Journey with DeDataDude. I'm your host, DeDataDude. Today's episode is special because we are here with an amazing person whose story embodies what is possible when you embrace your multi-potentiality in tech, from architecture to user experience design, from startup founder to community builder. Our guest has impacted over 500,000 entrepreneurs globally. Joining us today is Dimeji, popularly known as Tim. He is the co-founder of Photopol, an AI-powered event photo management platform, and also a senior UX designer who has turned his diverse interest into a powerful force for change. Tim, welcome to the amazing show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, thank you, Dimeji. At 15, you started Miss Time Creative and $50,000 revenue by 19. What sparked that entrepreneurial spirit?
I wouldn't really say what sparked the entrepreneurial spirit. It was more like something I grew up into.
Okay.
We're Nigerians, and there is always this thing that parents will tell you, even people around, that if you have just one source of income, you don't know what you're doing with your life. Or things like your education is no longer the main thing these days. So you need to start to think of ways to find other things to do that sort of helps you to make a living, really. And I was doing I've always loved research because I studied architecture, and we'll do research, we'll do different case studies of different places, different buildings, different locations. So in the middle of all of that, I started to see that there were people who studied one thing in school, but then what people know them for today is very different. So in my head, I'm like, why is that the case? So I started thinking of ways to sort of understand what are those things I'm really good at, and how can I put this into something else that can really help me, not just to make a living, but stop troubling my parents for money. And I started a printing business back then in School of Architecture. So I noticed that people would always go outside school to go and print their projects. And I knew how much I was paying for printing outside. So I was like, what if I had a printer and I'm able to help people print at a subsidized rate inside campus? It means that everybody will be coming to me. So, okay, I'd saved up some money for like a year. And I think I was planning to use that phone to buy that money to buy a phone. But in my mind, I'm like, if I can do this business, buying a phone will be the least of my problems. So I spoke to my dad to just assist me with money to balance up the money for the printer, and I bought the printer and I started doing the business in school. And from there, people started coming, and I was able to find ways to even print a lot more pages without buying new ink or new cartridges. So I'll just refill the old ones with external ink, and I was making like 200k 300k every week as a 300 level student. Who before my pocket money used to be like 10,000, and now I'm making so much. So from there, I just saw another avenue where students also still go to Yaba to buy art materials. Like there's this place in Yaba called Art World. They buy art materials, architectural modeling things. So to me, I was like, okay, maybe I'll find a way to be getting those things from that place and be selling it inside school. And basically, people were not paying me for the materials that they were buying. They were paying me for being able to make the period of their journey from school to Yaba. And I schooled in Ota. So from Ota to Yaba is quite far. So I basically like cut down down the process or the long process
Wow.
of going to
Wow.
Yaba to buy your things, you face traffic, come back to school. So I was selling that on campus, and yeah, and then from 300K, I started making like 500K to 600 per month.
Wow.
And that was when I was already like in 400 level. So by the time I got to my master's, that was 2016, I started doing little bits of graphics design and furniture design. And I had people outside school that are also paying for my services. Collectively, over the space of, I think, 4 years, by 2017, I mean, back then in Nigerian currency, converting to dollars,
Yeah.
it was about $47,000 that has sort of passed through the business over
Wow.
time, which was
Wow.
quite interesting because it started from just a 60,000 naira printer, A3 printer. And then I also collaborated with some people who print outside school when they were printing like larger scale drawings.
Yeah.
So those people, I bring the customers to them, I get my own cut. And
Wow.
yeah, so it was just like street smart, but at the same time, I just wanted to understand more into why do people like business?
Hmm.
I'm a very creative person. I don't really enjoy business like that because it takes a lot of work. But then I wanted to understand, why are people always running towards business? Maybe I
Business.
should try myself. And yeah, it just became a thing. So
Wow. Wow. From collecting 10,000 naira per week as Alawi
actually per
to
month,
a month. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So to you becoming someone earning 300,000 naira or close to 400,000 naira per month, or is that per week also?
So it became per week after some time.
Wow. That's how many X?
That's like 10x, 40x, maybe.
Wow. But you know that handling such business and earning such amount at that age won't be easy. So what were the challenges?
So I think the first challenge was financial management, like how to manage finances, because I'm not an extravagant spender. I'm not somebody who is greedy and I'll be buying. I never bought an iPhone until 2022. Just to tell you how I didn't really care about these things. But because I had this access to this amount of money, I started doing things that were sort of a little bit not regular for a young person, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, YouTube has started becoming a thing as a 2015, 2016. So I bought a camera,
Okay.
and when I was about to do my master's, I chose not to stay in the school apartment. I went to go and rent an apartment outside, and when I was living alone, I furnished the apartment, made it really good,
Wow.
upgraded my laptop, and then I bought a Technophone. I just basically like created a very nice small world for myself. And it wasn't a problem, but it made me grow up so fast that for a 19-year-old, I was already becoming someone that I was thinking about things into the future. And that's what sort of getting early into business does for you. Your mind would increase.
Yes.
And I think because I wasn't trying to accumulate so much wealth, I was basically trying to solve people's problem. In a way, the money was coming to me, and that wasn't really a bad thing. But then what I now realized is that people started seeing that, oh, Dimeji is doing this business. They were not making, they didn't know the exact numbers I was making, but they know that people were coming to my room every day to print.
Wow.
So someone sort of had an idea that this guy was making money. So they also started doing their own printing business. And from there, within my hostel, we had like 7 people doing printing.
Wow.
So when I realized, I was like, with business comes competition. Once they see that there's a market and people are going all out with it, others will start doing the same thing.
Sure.
So that was the first thing I learned. And how do I leverage me being able to start first to still grow and be better than everyone?
Yeah.
Because everybody was sort of trying to play catch up. So then I moved into architectural materials. Then I moved into graphics design. And then the interesting part now is I'm doing the graphics for them and they're paying me to do the graphics, but then they're also coming back to me to print the work I did for them. So it's like I'm making sure that I find a way to contain all of my customers to myself, even though there's a lot of people that wants to print. People still come because they know that, okay, there's extra value they're getting from what I'm doing. But I think one of the downsides to getting exposed to business very early is you stop feeling, I don't know how to put it. You just don't want to get into some certain experiences anymore. For example, I didn't want to get a job because I'm like, if I'm already doing all of this, what's the point of a job? So I didn't really chase an employment, which I feel like I suffered for when I first moved to the UK because I had never been employed. And then I'm coming into the UK, I've sort of suspended all of my businesses in Nigeria. How do I make money here? So that was like a big problem. Imagine if I had like a CV that had years of experience, it wouldn't be an issue. But yeah, but I mean, that's by the way. So yeah, so that's one of the things that I learned from that. And then the whole financial management part, I wish I knew that, okay, you need to invest all of the money you're making into things that would yield results in the future. I mean, I was buying laptop, I bought a phone. I wasn't like lavish or something, but I should have used the money for things that would sort of have a ripple effect in the future. And what I thought was sort of give me that ripple effect was I started a furniture business, like a proper furniture business. I did all the
Okay.
designs. I got a carpenter to do the actual work, but then I was supposed to do exams. So I sort of suspended the showcase of the project until
Okay.
after my exams. After my exam, I was going home that day, and then I saw in someone's shop, one designer looks like my work. And I was like, what's this? So I went to the guy's shop and I realized that the guy had reproduced all of my designs and started selling them.
What?
So yeah, that's how that business crashed. Because to me, I was like, everybody already saw the work. So what's the point of selling? The people would think I
Wow.
copied him. So yeah, I just decided to let it go. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the kind of things I experienced that just made me know that getting into business at a very young age, there are a lot of things you need to sort of start to learn. And then after that experience, and I started learning more into the business of design, business of architecture, how to sort of win people over with not just
Mm,
great prices, but then with great value as well.
wow, wow, wow. I want to ask something because as a normal Nigerian guy to your age, earning such amount of money at 300 level university, some may be like, okay, I don't need to pursue any further education anymore, but you still went ahead for your master's. What pushed you to do that?
So, I mean, I understand so interesting thing is architecture was like the only course or the only thing I've sort of wanted to do since I
Okay,
was 7 years old. I've always had in the back of my mind that architecture.
okay.
But then when I got to university, I realized that architecture is not going to be the thing that will use to sort of sustain my life or maybe sustain my family when I get married in the future. But architecture is going to be a stepping stone to a lot of things. So
Yes.
all the things I was learning in school, even though they did not really teach us much in school, all they were teaching us is theoretical things that would not apply in the real world. But then I
Okay.
took that opportunity to start to expand my knowledge. Like I
Okay.
told you, I like research a lot. I was researching about things in the US, things in the UK. That was where I learned about so many things about Scotland, even though I didn't know I was going to be in Scotland eventually. But I've learned about Scotland when I was like maybe like 2014, 2015.
Wow.
So I knew a lot about different places because of the research I've done about them. So I realized that there is so much that I can do by just having more of this knowledge of architecture.
Hmm.
And maybe in the future, it might be a good thing to finish this course and get certified and be registered. Who knows? Maybe in like 20 years or 30 years, I'll probably just come back and say I want to focus fully on architecture now. Maybe when the world has changed and architecture has now become something that only the elite of the elites are doing. So that also sort of pushed me to want to finish it.
Hmm.
And I never saw myself as someone who would drop out of school or anything, because not because my parents would be upset, but yeah, I'm not just that kind of child. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. So you mentioned getting bored with your first successful venture. We want to know how you learned to embrace having diverse interests. Apart from maybe you saw people as your competitor.
So the competition was one thing. The other thing was I've done this thing for 4 years. There must be something else that is a lot better or that can challenge me a lot more. I'm the kind of person that when I get to the height of something, it just doesn't freak me out anymore. Like I just like, okay, I've done it. On to the next one.
How do you
And
know
that's
that you
how
are? How do you know that you have attained height or something?
so for one, I was leaving school, which
Okay.
means I can't continue doing printing business or buying architectural materials for students.
Okay.
I'm leaving. I'm no longer a student. So that part has to go.
Okay.
And if I establish something outside of school, how am I sure that I'm going to be able to capture students to come outside? Because the original problem I was trying to solve is to not make them travel out of their comfort zone. So by itself, that business idea was already getting to its ending point. And then the next now is to evolve beyond something else, which was what brought the idea of the furniture business, which eventually crashed. So I then realized that there are lots of times where I feel like this thing is good, but I feel like there's something better. And the kind of person I am, I'll research up until the point that I see that I have 3 ways to go and I'll analyze each of the 3 ways. So this one will lead me to this place, that one will lead me to this place, this one will lead me to this place. And the only thing I saw leading me into a more sustainable future, like 3, 7, 10 years, was design.
Okay.
And it wasn't just architectural design, it was visual and experience design. So I was like, okay, I'll try this. And then that's when I started doing the graphics. Even though I've been using Photoshop since 2011, I started doing the graphics and, helping people. And the day I knew that this thing is big and it has potential was around Ota at the time. I would go around different shops where I used to buy things from. And there's this, they always have this Coca-Cola branding on their,
Yeah.
like they'll say, Iyabisi store, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is nice. But then I then went to go and ask them questions, which was how I started getting involved in user experience. And I was asking the business owners that, who did this for you? Who did that for you? They would tell me, they just brought it and we paid something for it.
Wow.
On my head, I was like, are they supposed to pay for it?
I was even thinking same thing like it's not supposed to be free.
Understand? So I was like, okay, no problem. I'm going to do something free for you. I didn't tell them that. I just went home and designed something new. And then I went to go and show them on my iPad. And they were like, this is actually good, Joe. Let's have it. Let's have it. And I'm like, okay, no problem. But you'd have to print it yourself, but it is free. No designs, but you print it yourself. So I'll direct them to the person that will do the printing.
Yeah.
And me, I'll get my cut from the printer guy, which was like the deal. And that's how I was going around doing designs. And before I knew it, people started, saying the Meiji is the one that did it or is a good
Wow.
designer. And that's how I started getting recommendations to work with
Wow.
other people, different projects and different, to the point that I actually did a project for Coca-Cola, but it was for like, they were trying to do it like a billboard, a banner in one of the, all those like very long banners,
Yes.
those billboards
And along the road.
roadside, yeah.
Yeah.
And they did a campaign and did so many all across Ota at that time. And nobody knew I was the one that did it because it was low key.
Wow.
Because if they know. So
were you referred to that job also?
Yeah, it was a referral because
Wow.
I think one of the Coca-Cola dealers, the guy that sort of goes around, saw all the things I've done for people and was like, maybe let's just use this guy for one of our projects too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was how I knew that I'm outgrowing something. So I feel like when I get to a point where I'm outgrowing something, that's when I've gotten to the height of it. So it needs to go and something new needs to start. I feel like one of the main issues a lot of entrepreneurs have is they don't know when to let go of something that is no longer working or has gotten to the end of itself. It's like a pivot. And there's this way I always explain it to people, my friends, or anybody who I sort of talk to when I'm doing personal branding coaching. It is that there's always a height you get to, and then you're going to peak. It's going to be like a plateau. If you don't come down from that plateau, you can't climb up to something higher. So that experience is one that nobody wants to experience because you get to the height of something, you come down. That coming down is always difficult because it feels like you are cutting everything out. You are no longer progressing, and that's not the truth. For you to climb higher, you need to gather more strength, and that's why research is always important for me. I research a lot. So those periods where I don't have anything I'm doing with my business and I'm trying to get into a different space, I'm researching to know what are the best ways to put my best foot forward. What are the mistakes I shouldn't make and things like that. And that's pretty much how.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. So moving to Edinburgh was a big step for you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you approach, building your presence in the new tech ecosystem in the UK?
Honestly, I was a ghost for like a year. I didn't do much.
What do you mean by a ghost?
So normally, not normally, I'm an introvert and I don't like going out for events and things like that. I don't like spotlight in any way. So the first year of me staying in Edinburgh, like from February 2023 rather, I was just focused on how can I understand this UK. And then when I realized that me doing branding jobs and user experience wasn't really cutting it anymore, the next best thing was to find like some sort of quick jobs I could do that could at least provide some money while I'm still focusing on this thing. So I did that for a few months. And as I was doing that, I'll come home, in the morning, exhausted, but I'll still try and just put few things together. And I did that for like 6 months. By the end of the 6 months, I was already feeling like, okay, I think I'm getting a hang of all of these things. And that was when I switched. And my wife would always tell me that, look, you need to put yourself out there, which is something I talk to people about on my social media. But me, I'm not doing it because I'm not in a new space. I'm trying to understand. So I then started to take my own advice. So I started going for events. And I think the first event I went to was one in Codebase, Edinburgh. And it was really nice. I loved it. And then I went for one with Notion. And gradually I was meeting different people who were introducing me to, and I think the weird part is because I'm someone who in Nigeria, I created a very strong personal brand and people sort of know me. So when they see me, I'm like, are you the guy that makes video on Instagram? And I'm like, eh. So they would introduce me to other persons and be like, oh, this guy makes great videos. He's really good, this or that one. And little by little, I started getting more into different networks, started talking to more people. And the interesting bit is the Black professionals community in the UK, I didn't really join. It was my wife that sort of used to attend some of the events, and then she would tell me that you need to go for these things. But to me, I was just like, maybe not. Until one day I was introduced to one of the key players in the community, and the person was like, "Look, we've seen the work you're doing, and we really love it. So yeah, we really like. There are a lot of things we can work on together, and that's how the relationship really just started to build. But I think one turning point was going from seeing that Nigeria gave me leverage, but I need to rebuild that leverage here in the UK because this is not the kind of place that they will give you things on a platter. No,
Yes,
like
yes.
they have to see the value you have to give, and then it now comes to it. So yeah, because in Nigeria, someone can just see your social media and be like, "Oh, we want to work with you." But here, there has to be more value than that. And I started taking LinkedIn a little bit seriously. I was posting things, and yeah. And out of nowhere, even though I will talk about this on my social media, out of nowhere, Google reached out and said, they
Wow.
have this device they want to send to me to review and just share my experience. And from there, I was able to work with them on a few projects, UX design based, which sort of just gave me this push to say, okay, I think I'm getting a little bit okay with the system here. And that's how I became like a UX contractor or consultant. And I started sort of working my way up with that. So
Wow.
the experience you've had from a different place is important, but you need to still leverage the experiences that are important here. What used to work there will not work here. And that's one of the important things I learned.
Yes, 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 yeah. Thank you very much. You mentioned that you got a contract with Google. So was it that they just reached out to you, or what made that connection happen for them to send you a device for you to review?
So I've always used a Google Pixel. See, this is one right here.
Okay.
When I don't know if you've ever seen any of my stock photos. I used to do stock photos, and when I started making those stock photos, I was using a Google Pixel 2, and I would take pictures with it and upload online, and people started using it. And I think now the photos have like close to like 200 million views.
Wow.
And like thousands of downloads. I will talk about it on my Instagram that I make, stock photos on pixels. All my videos I shoot it with a pixel and things like that. So I'll constantly share. And I used to have Team Pixel on my bio. Maybe that was part of the reasons, maybe not. I don't know. But then I just got that mail mysteriously that day and I was like, well, maybe it's because I love Pixel. Maybe this is why this is happening. I think it's also part of like I've always wanted to work with brands before while I was in Nigeria, but it wasn't possible because of
The
shipping,
location.
international shipping, and all of that. So when I got to the UK, I became very active after like 6 months of sharing my location, and I just put Scotland or Edinburgh, Scotland, Edinburgh, UK. And I think that also added more to it because now people can say, oh, this guy's in the UK. Great. Maybe something can work out. So all the people that would be doing, no shades to anybody, but village people, I don't want to share my location. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to really make things work in the tech space, let people know where
Yeah,
you are.
you
Like
can't hide
right now,
yourself.
if you go to my Instagram bio, you will see Edinburgh based because people need to know I'm here.
Yes, yes. Bring John. Absolutely correct regarding that, means that okay, don't show your location because of village people. But it doesn't really work because if you really want to make it, you need to let people know who you are and where you are so that they can navigate the kind of opportunity they can push to you. So that is this thing that audience we always want to know. People like you that came to new country as the first immigrant. They want to know, okay, is it that you just came and you just started doing your things and excelling, in a spotlight and all. But people don't actually know that, okay, there are some things that maybe we do, like we did. For example, in my own case now, for some months, maybe like 8 months, I did a lot of manual jobs, you understand? But it was until I let it out to people, okay, these are the things I went through. These are the kind of jobs I did in the UK before I even got, my maybe tech role and stuff like that. I did KP, I did retail, which other job again? I think I did bartender also. Yeah. So was there any manual job that you did that you can share with the audience so that I can know that, okay, these things are normal to do in the UK when you first, maybe came, but that shouldn't determine your final destination. Was there any maybe manual job that you did?
Yeah. I already touched on it a little bit that, when I first got here, the first 2 months, I was still trying to understand what was going on. And then so that someone won't go hungry and I just got married. So I started applying for any kind of job. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I was trying to do, airport security, so many different things. But in my head, it was like, this is a means to an end.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a thing that I stick with for life.
Sure. Sure.
I think I tried to make sure I mentioned this so that it doesn't seem as though I had everything figured out. I was lucky enough to come into the UK with a relatively okay visa that won't require me to be tied to any company or
Okay.
like I'm waiting for sponsorship and things like that. So it gave me room to be able to explore different options. But
Yeah.
when I realized that these options would take me like maybe a year to really form, I
Hmm.
need to find something doing in that time. And I started working in Tesco, the warehouse.
Okay.
It was just like, it wasn't even replenishing. It was really like a warehouse operative, handling all the machines, the stacking of different items, so many different. And that took a major part of the year I got here.
Wow.
And the main thing that was going through my mind during this period was, if I'm giving like 10, 12 hours of my time to this thing, and then I get back home and I'm sleeping. Good. So yeah, I feel like because I had that experience, it changed a lot of things in my mindset.
Hmm.
So I get back home and yeah, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I'll still try and, push out emails, still
Wow.
try and just, like send
Wow.
out pitch to different companies or different brands. So many, many different things. Like I started sending massive emails, and then I'm not going to lie, my wife was really, really instrumental in making sure that I was able to like keep up with all of these things. At the
Wow.
time she was pregnant, about to have a baby, our son. And, it was just a lot of work and thinking through. But then, as the year was gradually ending for 2023, I set to picture that if I'm able to send at least 10 emails daily, in a month, I would have sent 30 emails, 300 emails
300.
rather.
Wow.
At least one would
One week.
click.
Sure.
And by the end of November 2023, I had gotten 4 brand deals out of close to like 300 emails. And then I just kept on doing that. And then from there, I started applying for grants or like joining different organizations. And I was able to get into Prince's Trust. I did test my business idea. I was able to like get access to, understand more into the business of the UK. I understand more into the tax culture, the tax, world, how to do your HMRC, all of those different things. I learned a lot within that period.
Wow.
And 2024 was like a year to just go all out. I
Good
wasn't,
Lord.
see, now that I realized that I've quit this job, I need to be 1000% all in with this thing I said I want to do. And within the first, I think, yeah, it was the week I quit. The Thursday of that week was when I got introduced to one of the key players in the Black community here. And then there was a great business idea that was like, oh, this is a great business idea that would be
Wow.
good to explore. And I got into that. It was a great partnership, and we've built a really great product today. So it's something that nobody really would understand if you're trying to share it in its raw form. Because yeah, this guy's an influencer, is popular online. It's not about that. There are influencers who are starving. Let me just be very plain and honest.
You know what? I could totally relate with your story. Something like every time I'm going for shifts, I always like, kind of life am I living in this UK? I will just wake up, go and wash, go and clean the pots, go and mop the chima and go and throw these things. Then I will get home thinking, okay, I want to learn new things, like doing some trainings. It got to a point I couldn't undo myself anymore because sometimes I went to school, came home, did some trainings, then resumed back to shifts again. Then came home again, like, I can't do this anymore. There were some days that I will go, I'm like, wasted. I will add it in my, okay, I want to maybe do some courses. I will just be
Yeah.
like I was already asleep, woke up the following day, I was like, okay, I can't continue my life like this. It got to a point, I was totally fed up, like, okay, I need to wait till this thing, but before I quit, I need to make sure I had a plan B. And one thing that was pushing me to actually do the work was because of my school fees, because I need to finish this phase for say, okay, I want to risk it. I don't want to do this thing anymore. And there is another reason why I said your story, kind of related to mine is the aspect of partner or wife. She helped me a lot. I think this will be the first time I'm sharing this. She helped me a lot. Sitting at home for several months, trying to build up myself, as a man, like trying to just learn anything, apply for the jobs, started, freelancing and all. People will think all these things are just, easier as, as you see on social media. But even people hearing your story now, they'll be like, okay, I've seen his page, he's doing well, nice picture, nice video, nice everything. But
It's not about that though.
you will never know the reality. Okay, if you are in a new country, there are things that you need to do. If not, you will just
Yeah.
die of hunger. And I'm very happy that you're able to share this with us. People will get to know that, okay, even if you are doing this manual job, that shouldn't deter me or give you, okay, this is what you will do for life. If not, because
Yeah,
if care is not taken, that's all you'll be doing for several years. You just
honestly.
open your eyes and close it. You say, we have spent 2 years doing this. Whereas you have your dreams packed in one suitcase that you are dreaming, okay, maybe one day you will start working on it. But if care is not taken and you're unable to take that risk, I don't know what will happen. But thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that because that will clear the air. So please tell us about your first speech at Tectonic Night Summit. What was going through? I saw the post. Went wrong.
You said what went wrong? It
Yeah,
wasn't good.
it was good, but the way you were like, maybe you were tension somehow.
Yeah, there was a lot of tension. Like I've never done that before. Like so, I've given speeches, I've done trainings, I've done like I used to lead, fellowships. I've done different
Yeah.
things in church. I know, but like this was the first time I'm talking to people who, and this is the first time I'm doing anything public, like that I'm standing in front of an audience in the UK. So it didn't feel easy because I'm like I haven't done any public engagement in like 2 years.
Wow.
The last time I spoke to people in public was a conference in Nigeria, and there were like maybe like 400 people in the attendance, which was really okay. It was just like a training, and yeah, it was like a keynote speech, which was fine.
Wow.
So this was the first time I'm doing that. And then who are the people in the audience? People that possible investors, people who can eventually adopt your product, people who can potentially like hire you or make you a business partner, and all of that. Man, I'm like, this is a lot of pressure. And then to not make it worse, now I'm talking to people about something that it's just been, that was May.
Yeah.
This thing started for me in February. So it's just been 4 months, 3 months of actively working on this thing. How do I convince people about this particular idea that we have?
Wow.
And the only thing that came to my mind was just use all the approach you've learned from making videos and storytelling and just tell a story. And
Wow.
even with the story, I start to get to the point where I'm asking people for money in a way. Because you're going to so I had to talk about like, okay, so we were hoping to raise £250,000 and so, all of that. So man, I'm like, oh, £250,000 is not too much money or it's too small. Before you now find someone that probably has like 5 million to give, but you're asking for 2 million. I'm sorry,
Yes.
250,000. So it was just all of that going through my mind. But then as I got up on stage, I was just like, look, I'm here already. Whatever happens wants to happen. And I just, started.
Let's kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like I didn't do well. But then the people on
You
my
did.
team said it was okay. You did well. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I chose to now start practicing. So and
Wow.
since then, I've pitched at Techstars Belfast. I've pitched at Black Tech Fest. I've pitched at
Wow.
Summer Mixer Forest. I've pitched at a couple of different places, Startup Grind, so many different places. So yeah, it's just I think over time I became a little bit convenient and comfortable with it, and a lot more experience. Even though I still like sometimes it's still a lot of work because in my head I'm like, how do I do this thing? How do I not mess up my words? Because yeah, I was never someone who was always in front of the screen or in front of the crowd. So I had to learn to build that confidence. Yeah, over time, I got convenient with camera, but then still people sometimes still sort of weird. But I think, yeah, maybe in the next 2, 3 or 6 months, I'll become an expert in giving speech and pitches,
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that moment with us. So now I want you to share with us how you balance being an influencer, creator, a technical leader, a father, husband. How are you balancing all these roles together?
I'm not balancing anything. I'm just living my life as the day comes.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that really helps me is knowing that balance is not 50-50, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some times when, 100% available for my family. Nothing can take that away. But then there's some times where, maybe 80% goes to Photopo. I just need to know when those specific time comes. For example, we just finished the end of the year celebrating color event.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks straight, I was always on the move, from London to Aberdeen, to different places. I was always on the move, just settling things to Falker. I was just moving around a lot just to make sure that the event is well put together and the year is ending well. But then now I feel like, okay, but I can't keep doing that all year long, else I'll break down. So it's like knowing when to switch roles. And one other thing that really helps me is sort of time blocks. So I don't have a rigid schedule of, okay, every day I must do this and that. No, I have time blocks. So when I wake up in the morning, take care of my son, maybe take a bath and give him breakfast. Sometimes my wife does it. And then while he's eating and all of that, I'm probably trying to sort of respond to emails. Thank God for AI that's made life easy because now I have like some AI that I've sort of put on my emails. Once an email comes, the AI already knows how I talk and how I respond to emails. So it will create a draft and I'll just review the draft and I'm like, okay, I mean, this is good to go. Sometimes I don't even read the draft, I'll just plain send. Because
Wow.
it's email, nobody really reads email. They just want to get the main information. So, respond to emails, and then from there, any high priority task I have to do that day, I do it between 10 a.m. and 12 noon.
Hmm.
But then from 12 noon up until like 4, I might not really have time for myself. So the most I will do then is check social media for things I probably need to do for the next day, sync up with whoever I need to sync up with via phone while I'm not actively in my workspace doing work. And then from 4 till about 6, I try to work, even though like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., I'm sort of setting up dinner and all of that, family time. And 7, my son goes to bed. So 7, 8, 9, yeah, I can't really do anything in those periods. Maybe
Hmm.
spend time with my wife. So the only period I have to work during the day is while I'm doing other things. So
Hmm.
how do you manage all of this together? It's not about managing. It's about knowing what needs priority per time and being able to work. I've always been someone that I don't know how to multitask
Hmm.
because it makes me very messy because I need to focus on one thing per time. But then since all of these responsibilities are sort of combined, I'm multitasking all round. So yeah, there's no balance. It's just like doing
Wow.
everything as it comes, but then knowing that there are certain things that require priority per time and focus on those things to achieve the results.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. You have spoken being an introvert and the power of showing up. How has this shaped your approach to leadership?
I feel like the best leaders are introverts because you tend to think about things a lot before you act. And I think one of my favorite quotes these days is minimizing stupidity will take you far in life, which means you
Hmm.
need to learn to be able to cut down impulsive decisions, impulsive actions. Think about things, think things through, right? Before you make a decision. Because if you don't think it through, you're going to like mess things up. You're going to get very messy. So like taking time to reflect on things and sort of consider different sides to something makes it easy to make better decisions. Sometimes it might not be the easiest decision, but oftentimes it's the smartest decision. So yeah, that's important. And that's how being an introvert showing up has really helped because now I'm not showing up to just show up for showing up's sake. No, I'm showing up because there's an agenda behind my showing up. And I think everybody I've sort of seen, all these big celebrities, they have the same approach. You won't see someone like, I mean, might be controversial, but you won't see someone like Beyonce just posting randomly,
Yeah, that would be a reason for it.
Yeah, there'll be a reason for it. And the reason sometimes is always maybe a market research situation. But
Hmm.
for whatever reason you're showing up for, let there be an agenda behind it. So like now, no, most people would not know, but I started a LinkedIn newsletter. And the newsletter is because I'm releasing a book on UX design and experiences next year, October. And I need to start talking about it little by little so people can start getting used to
Yes,
the
yes,
idea
yes,
of what the book really sells. I can't just come and then just drop a book October next year and then I hear
hmm.
people to like say amazing. Yeah, it needs to be like a slow building process towards that. So
Yes.
yeah, that's the power of showing up and being able to consider things into the future and just
Wow.
spending this year to really reflect around my experience as a UX designer over the years. Just give me this idea. Okay, your book is almost ready. Start
Hmm.
building towards the launch. And what's the best way to do it? Start a newsletter. Share more
Hmm.
about it on LinkedIn. That's how I even became active on LinkedIn. Or part of the
Wow.
reasons outside Photopol. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. We come into the newsletter aspect later. So you have written about turning 30 and facing fears head on. What has been your biggest mindset shift?
Mindset shift. I would say knowing well that nothing comes easy,
Hmm.
especially if you know that you are not in your native land.
Hmm.
Yeah, anywhere. I mean, nothing comes easy anywhere. But if you're in a foreign land, you're at a disadvantage
Hmm.
because everything would sort of feel hard for the first few attempts, and every try feels like it's like 10 years. So let me give this analogy. Right, I saw it online some days ago. So they showed 3 different categories. The first person was afraid to sort of shoot the arrow or to like try.
Yeah.
The second person tried once and said not to try again. But then the
Hmm.
third person tried. First time, he missed. Second time, he hit one small place. Third time, it was getting closer to the goal. Fourth time, closer. By the seventh time, he eventually hit the target.
Wow.
And I read someone who said in the comments that every try costs 10 years.
Hmm.
So imagine someone who has tried 7 times, let's say 70 years. But then there are actually ways to compress 70 years into 7 years. If you try, learn from that attempt, and then amplify the results you got from the first attempt, whether it's a failure or whatever level of success, and then impute it into the next try. By the time you try the fourth time, the fifth time, you realize that you're getting closer to actually eating it. And this can happen in like 10 years. Instead of spending 10 years on one try, spend 1 year on one try and compress all the knowledge and everything, add it to the next one, try again. Like, I mean, this has been, for me, I would say 13 years of experience. And per try, it is learning something new. At first it was a printing business, and then it became architectural materials, and then it became furniture and graphics, and then it became proper design agency, and then it became training designers and developers to understand what it is and get them placements into different companies. And then I closed all of that down and then focused on active storytelling and content creation, video production, and then it's like I've done like maybe 7 or 8 different businesses or like things that can help me sort of make a living and build something that also helps people. And over this experience or this period is the same thing. You can actually try again and again and again, but every try should sort of give you leverage to try again, not discourage you from not trying. I mean, if after I lost all of those money to the furniture business, I decided I'm not going to try again, do you know what that would lead to? So
yes. Wow. But what practices help you to maintain this growth mindset? Because you mentioned about 7 ventures now. So what mindset do you have that you're just maintaining this growth mindset that you are not giving up, you must continue, you want to venture into another?
Yeah, I think is that nothing is a failure. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing is a failure. No matter how terrible the experience might have been, it didn't go well, doesn't mean you failed. It's just that, okay, I've learned something new. And this is something that we say a lot. So I won't try to make people feel like they don't know what they're saying. If you feel like it's a failure, don't try again. But if you feel like, something else can change from this experience, you would have every strength in you to try again. Because you want to see, if I tried again, what's the new approach I can get? What's the new result I can get? It's a continuity kind of mindset. It's like, this happened, it didn't go as planned. So why didn't it go as planned? What were the things that were like the bottlenecks? How can I fix this? Go on to the next thing. And I feel like learning design made this easy for me, because with design, you are struggling with something in 3D Max or SketchUp or AutoCAD. Will you go and delete the file? No. You try and make sure that you fix the actual thing. And there's this program called SketchUp. SketchUp is so delicate that if you miss one joint like this, everything will not work.
Wow.
So you have to find where that thing is, fix it, and then everything now works. So imagine, because I've done maybe 10 hours of work, and then one small piece is not connected, I'm not going to delete the entire file. That means I'm starting again. No. Let me see. Can I fix it? If I spend 5 days and I can't fix it, okay, I'll start again. But then I'll make sure that I understand every step I took to the point where I couldn't fix it anymore. So how do I avoid that place? And that's innovative thinking, So that whenever you get to this point, sorry, I'm trying to illustrate. Whenever I get to this point, something always goes wrong. Okay, is there a way to do it without getting to this point and still achieve the results? If the answer is a yes, then I must not get to this point. I must fix it before I get to this point, and everything will work. So it's that's like,
wow.
Like one of my co-founders will say, she will say, have the mindset of a fixer. As it is happening, fix it before it becomes a problem that you can't control anymore. Right from the root.
Wow. So that will lead us to root cause analysis. Just find the causes of that problem, fix it. Wow. And also what you mentioned regarding the design aspect, that you must fix that thing, and if that thing didn't work, the whole structure maybe won't work. Similar to coding, you may use days, to write code. But if there is a bug, and that bug may be semicolon, and if you're not able to identify that semicolon, we spend days, in identifying bugs like that. You may be like, okay, this should be something that I should be able to debug within 5 minutes. That 5 minutes may lead to 5 hours. You're like, what's going on? Then you will try to go to bed, or you'll be thinking about it. How will I solve this? And maybe for next thing, the following day, this is the deadline that you need to present the product to the team.
Yeah.
So you couldn't sleep, or you were thinking about it, how do I fix this? And you just maybe woke up early in the morning and you were like, so because I didn't add semicolon to this thing, or added semicolon to this thing, that's why it goes about 500 lines.
Can you imagine?
It's kind of frustrating, but that doesn't mean that, okay, we won't fix it, because, okay, why should semicolon stop the code and this code from working? Well, we still need to fix it, even just to help semicolon, and everything will work fine. Thank you for sharing that. Regarding personal brand, building, you mentioned about your stock photos, which have about 200 million views and millions of downloads. How did this contribute to building your personal brand?
So I think it contributed in a positive way because after having done designs over time, I realized that there were not enough stock photos of people of color. So I started creating the ones I could. Imagine 5 photos generating like close to like 2 million views in like 40 days
Right.
or 2 months. Other designers within the Nigerian design community started using those pictures, and people started looking for, is this not the same guy that we use his pictures? And then they now realized that I also teach design. So there was now like married interest. And then later on, I now switched to making more of those things, but also talking about how to build a personal brand. So I'm building a personal brand and I'm taking people through the process of building a personal brand. I'm showing them what I'm doing in real time and how they can replicate it or how they can find what is like similar to them. And it just created this room for anyone to see what I'm doing and say, this guy is doing it and we can see the results. So let's follow him. And that's how it started. So it was like I'm sharing my journey, not necessarily my results. Because people learn better from your journey, not necessarily your results. Because your results is like, you're going to ask Elon Musk, how did you do it? And you tell you dedication, whatever. I mean, that wouldn't really help you. But if you're seeing the process, someone is telling you, so today I'm trying to solve this problem and he's showing you how he's solving the problem and you have the same problem and you copied it or you adopted his own principles, you will get the same you will get your own result too. And that's pretty much how. So show your process journey, your progress journey, not necessarily your success story. People want to know that. We've gone past the days of celebrities and influencers. People are now caring more about the actual experiences, the real life stories. How are you doing it? Not how did you do it? Do you understand?
That's one of the motives behind this show, Tech Journey with DeDataDude, telling the stories, let people know, how you are doing it, how you have done it, how you started, things that you went through. Understand? So it's not just because, okay, I'm so, or I'm earning this. How were you able to earn that? People want to know so that they can follow the same, use the same principle, follow the same roadmap, and also earn what you are earning. So we are moving to the newsletter that you just launched, Amplify and Scale. So you said, or don't let me assume, what motivated you to share your 10 years of experience this way?
So, like I said, I do research a lot and I noticed that, and then now I'm leading a product-based company. And I noticed how much experiences change the way these products actually happen. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but during the Christmas party, there are a lot of things within the space that sort of changed the way people would sort of understand photopole. We weren't really talking about it, but there were things all around the room showing what photopole is. That's experience.
Yes.
From the photo booth to the printouts on the wall to tell you scan this, instructional manuals and stuff like that. Those things are very small, but then they are very deep within your subconscious, telling you, because you're tracking a pose in the photo booth and you're seeing photo pool at the top. It will register in your skull, in your head.
Yes.
And while I was doing my own research, I realized that there is a particular rule that applies that a lot of unicorns and big companies use to sort of drive things. It's called the pick end rule. And this is the idea. For whatever you're doing, whatever experience, the two most important places that people would always remember and never forget will be the peak of an experience and then the end of that experience. Let me give an example. So you took a trip to, let's say, Bali or one nice place. And during that trip, your luggage got lost at the airport. That is the peak of that experience. You will never forget.
I never forget that.
But then a lot of things happened. You bought clothes, you felt okay, you did zip lining. You might forget the zip lining and all of these things. But you can never forget that I lost my luggage at the airport. And then the end of the experience is now, even after all of that, you almost missed your flight, but then you made it, you got home safe and everything is fine. I'm cool. Right? And then at the end of the day, the airport eventually found your bag and sent it back to your house where you came from. That is the end of the experience. You can't forget those two things, the peak and the end.
Wow.
And if you apply this to experiences, right, which in our own path for Photopole, it was, people are snapping pictures, they are remembering, but what possible peak can we have? It is someone did a screen, they pressed enter, and they're able to see all of their pictures from out of 500 or 800 in one folder, and they can see all their pictures. That is the peak of an experience.
That's an amazing
And then possibly what can be the end? It is that you can download these pictures and use on your social media. So, okay, let's apply this. How then do you apply this to any product whatsoever? And that is what the book is all about. It's picking up together all the experience of like user experience, but helping founders and designers and company leaders to understand that if you leverage this, given the step-by-step guide, your product will become something that people would want to go all out with. Even for the pitch at Tectonic, that's the same thing I used. The peak of the experience was the story, which was, what would you do if someone comes, after your wedding? That is the peak of the experience. And then the end would be me asking them, if you want to know more about Photopole, please reach out to me. I'm so place. Yeah. So it can be applied to anything, whether experiences, relationships, storytelling, content creation, product building. And that is what the book really just, capitalizes on. And I've thought about how do I now tell or share more into this experience for anybody that wants to know about it. And that's how the newsletter came. Let me use the same name for the book, for the newsletter. Because if I say after 6 months that I'm starting a newsletter and it is the same, or I'm releasing a book and it's the same name as the newsletter with, let's say, 10,000 active readers. I mean, I can sell the book. I can sell like 1,000 copies in like a month or so.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's just it.
Wow. I love that strategy. Wow. Thank you so much. So to mental health and growth, you have been very open about your journey with anxiety and introversion. How has this vulnerability helped you connect with your audience?
So I think the day I knew that me sharing about my introversion has created this very invisible community that I did not know existed was the day. So there's this thing that happens every year. It's called National Introvert Week in the US, and I made a video like some 3 months before that about introversion that went viral, like close to like 80 million views across all social media. And NBC News in the US reached out and was like, we have a section, I think 15 minutes or maybe a 10-minute or 5 or 10-minute section on the National Introverts Week to talk about stereotypes or the stereotypes of introversion and all of that, of being an introvert. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, who would have thought me that I don't even like being in the spotlight? So I did that. I was on I was live on TV and everything.
Wow.
Before it happened, I went to go and share, like, guys, this is happening. You can watch it live, so and so place. And that was when after the interview happened, I posted the live video and the replay, and come and see. That post got like, I think close to like 300K views, like close to like 20K likes, and more than 2,000 comments of people saying, wow, thank you so much for speaking up for introverts.
Wow.
This is the reason why I actually followed you in the first place and things like that. And in my head, I'm like, like it's so great to see an introvert doing the things that we never thought possible. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So that was how I knew that, okay, and this has been a journey of me sharing bits and pieces of me being an introvert, but still choosing to do these things. I shared about my burnout process. I shared about how I sort of control when I'm speaking to a large crowd and so many different things. So that's just how the journey has been here.
Wow. Thank you. And thank you for letting numerous, individuals, introverts know that you are there for them. And this is one of the reasons why they even followed you. Whereas you didn't even know until you attended that interview. Thank you very much. So to wrap it up, what is your philosophy about life?
I mean, I would say put God first. Never doubt the gifts you have inside of you, because they are interconnected. There's a way God helps you to see your life in like it's not like a bubble now. You can see it plain and clear what your life will sort of become if you choose to use the good things, the gifts He has given to you. Some people think coding is not a gift. It is, because some people don't know how to do it. Some people can't even think about, they don't even understand how to put it together. But then you have a mind that can comprehend how to do these things. Even though you might think it was out of desperation or out of joblessness, you decided to pick up coding. No. Your mind can comprehend things that some other people's minds can't, and that's something. So how can you use this?
Wow.
And I think the last thing would be, never get to a point where you feel like you've arrived. It's just going to mess up with every other thing, because it's going to be like, okay, like it's like you there's this thing now, see finish.
Yes.
You get to a point where you see yourself finish, and I don't know how to say it well in English.
Wow.
But like it's like you've gotten to the place where you don't really rate yourself anymore. You don't feel like you're doing anything remarkable. So many different things, and people do this to themselves a lot. Yeah, in English it's called self-sabotage, and they do to themselves a lot, where you intentionally belittle yourself because you feel like, okay, what more do I have to do in my life? And then the
Harsh.
other part now is some people feel like, okay, I've gotten to the end of everything. I'm the best. No, there's always something better to come for you.
Sure.
If after the printing business of earning 300K monthly, I feel like, yes,
Yeah, the boss now.
after school, what's going to happen? So yeah, after having maybe like 10K followers on Instagram, I feel like, yes.
This
So
is, kind of funny, but it's actually the truth. You understand? Sometimes in life, we may get to a point, I'll be like, yes, we have achieved it, but no, that may even be the beginning
yeah,
of another journey. But if here is not taken,
exactly.
be like, okay, I think I will stop here. But whereas even the God's plan for us is uncountable, but you have rated yourself, okay, you can only go from 1 to 10. Or we even be disappointed in that. Thank you very much, Dimeji, for sharing that. What an incredible journey from an introverted architect to a tech leader impacting millions. And before we wrap up, please tell our audience where they can connect with you and follow your journey.
You can find me everywhere at Dimeji, Diimejii, everywhere. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Medium, YouTube, Beyond, anywhere any social media you see that people are using, just type Diimejii. It will just spit me out immediately.
Wow, wow, wow. What in this conversation powerful? Wow. I'm still thinking about, conversations since we started. So if you resonated with Dave's journey, turning introversion into a superpower and building multiple successful ventures, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and also follow us on TikTok at official DataDude. All the links are in the description. And also drop in the comments what resonated with you most with Dave's transition from architecture to tech, and how has his introvert's journey inspired you, and also what questions would you like answered future episode, and who else's tech journey would you like to hear. And also remember, Azim showed us that being introverted isn't a limitation, it's a very superpower. His journey from hiding from groups to speaking TEDx proves that with the right mindset, anything is possible. And next week we are bringing another inspiring story to help you navigate your tech journey. Until then, keep pushing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep living. This is DataDude reminding you that in tech, the only limit is your mindset. Peace out.